Do you live in a world filled with corporate data? Are you plagued by siloed departments? Are your lackluster growth strategies demolishing your chances for success? Are you held captive by the evil menace, Lord Lack? Lack of time, lack of strategy, and lack of the most important and powerful tool in your superhero tool belt, knowledge. Never fear, HubHeroes. Get ready to don your cape and mask, move into action, and become the Hub Hero your organization needs. Tune in each week to join the League of Extraordinary Inbound Heroes as we help you educate, empower, and execute. HubHeroes, it's time to unite and activate your powers.
Hello, fellow kids. How's it going?
Hello. I got a new fidget toy. I don't know if you can hear it. It's a screwdriver.
Is it spinning?
Is that just a screwdriver?
Yeah, but the end spins at like Mach 11.
Oh, that's fast. I think. Yeah. I'm not sure.
I'm not sure either.
I think it is.
I thought you needed to know.
You know what else is fast? The way HubSpot changes.
Yes.
I'm just gonna
George, that was a flawless
like
segue. I understand I've been out and you guys have had to pick up the slack in my absence of making sure we stay on track.
Yeah.
I do want to say, having listened to both of those episodes,
hey,
you guys kept it together.
Ooh, we
I was
tried.
so proud. I was so proud, but I'm back.
It's different.
I'm back, and I'm very glad I'm back for this particular discussion because, George, you've already kind of mentioned, we're getting into the messy today. We're getting into the messy with probably one of the most common and deceptively innocuous questions that's thrown around in the HubSpot ecosystem. Whether we're talking about, right? Thank you. Innocuous.
Yeah.
Whether we're talking about folks who are not into HubSpot yet, people who have been with HubSpot for a really long time, everybody asks the same question at least once a year.
Yeah.
And that is choosing the right HubSpot plan. And how do I know which plan is right for me? And of course, the answer is our favorite 2-word sentence. It depends.
It depends.
It depends.
It depends.
But the way it depends has gotten a little complicated. It depends on goals, team size, growth stage. What hub are we talking about? How serious are you? Yeah, like what are we doing here? So we want to break down as best we can in what may become a multi-part series. We're going to find out how to approach this question, this idea of choosing the right HubSpot plan without overspending or getting stuck with stuff that you don't need, because you also don't want to have people who underutilize also what they are paying for, right? You either buy too much of stuff you don't need, or you buy the right stuff and then you don't actually end up using it. And that's because there's absolutely no one-size-fits-all approach in terms of how we answer this question. So the goal here
There's
is
another
clarity.
scenario, by the way.
What's that?
Or you buy the stuff and realize, wait, that's not in what I bought?
No.
Like,
I just spent how much?
and I don't have podcasting or remix. Wait, what? What do you mean marketing hub, huh? Anyway, we'll get there.
What you said there is perfect because the goal here is clarity. People, clarity, not
clarity
hype.
is kindness.
Clarity is kindness.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
So, yes, this is going to be a complicated conversation, but I don't think anybody who saw this topic is shying away from this because, oh my goodness, it's going to get complicated. But first, George, I want to start with you. And I want to start with the big old orange sprockety elephant in the room.
Yeah.
Can you just tell us why is choosing the right HubSpot plan so hard? What's the deal?
Well, first of all, let's just even take the human out of it for a second. And I know that's weird for me to start with that, but like, listen, you have hubs, right? So marketing hub, sales hub, operations hub, commerce hub, service hub. Have I forgotten any? I think you got all the hubs.
Content.
And content hub. Yep.
Sales.
Thank you. Sales. I think I said that. Maybe I didn't. But see, that's even the problem. Like I'm trying to list off the hubs and I can't even remember. A guy who's been doing this for 12 years.
There just used to be 5 certifications total. There just used to be 5 certifications.
I don't remember that. That feels like a lifetime ago. But here's the thing.
It
So
was
you got all the hubs. It was like 3 lifetimes ago. Here's the thing. You've got all the hubs, right? Then you've got additional add-ons. And now you sit here and you go, well, we have all the hubs, and also we have different tiers of the hubs. So do that math, by the way. Do all the hubs times free, starter, professional, enterprise. Like, just do that math real quick. You've got the additional add-ons. Then you've got AI, your Breeze tools, and you've got like limits that you're supposed to be paying attention to that people don't really pay attention to limits till they hit the limits. Like, we've got multiple clients where they've hit like object limits and they're like, wait, what? Why? Well, because anyway. And so, like, if you think about the math and the choices and the clicks, and you're just paralyzed. And then how do you know? And by the way, this is very broad. Well, what's in, let's say, for example, HubSpot Marketing Hub starter or free versus starter versus pro versus enterprise. Well, which one of those do I need? Okay, well, our sales team's going to use it too. Okay, well, what functionality is in free or starter, pro or enterprise? Oh, so which one of those do I need? And like, it's this smorgasbord, sort of, unless you just decide you want to go all in. Because, by the way, I mentioned all the hubs. I mentioned the optional add-ons. I mentioned the AI-powered Breeze tools. I mentioned limitation, but I didn't even mention that there's a customer platform. And by the way, I didn't even mention that there's a customer platform that when you go to the sales page, which we're probably going to dive in a little bit today. When I say sales page, I mean pricing page. There's a customer platform for individuals and small teams, and there's a customer platform for businesses and enterprises, which, okay. Anyway, Liz, that's just the tip of the iceberg of why this gets so complex and maybe convoluted and confusing for mere mortal humans.
Say seats?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even mention seats.
Well, I want to get into that in a second, because here's the thing.
Sheesh.
What you've described is in some ways both representative of the increasing complexity of the platform as they've brought up new hubs, as all like new features, new functionalities. But that's not the only big change that's occurred, I'd say, within the past couple of years, especially when it comes to pricing. Because, George, correct me if I'm wrong. And Chad, you mentioned this, the seats thing. That was something I always thought for a really long time that they weren't going to do. And people were kind of like, whoa, hold on a second. So can you explain what it is and how that kind of factors into this big pricing messy soup?
And Chad, if you want to take the seats thing, because I also want to mention one thing that happened before seats that was like, oh, really? But go ahead, Chad.
Yeah, well, with seats, I mean, like, I remember the most recent seat change. It's basically like everything comes with like beans for seats, like no seats for all of the features that matter. And you get read-only seats for everybody where they can't even edit records. Even if they're like a super admin who's a view-only seat, they can't do anything. So they at least need what they call like a core seat. Whereas prior to that, I was kind of okay with the system where it's like, hey, if you want the saucy sales features or the saucy service features, you need a seat for that. If you're like working in the tool, like the stuff that is the force multiplier for those humans, they need a seat. But super admins can at least administrate your portal without having to pay for it, right? If that makes sense. So then it's like, I don't know, the seat thing got a little crazy. And I don't remember what it was like before that. Like, I've only been through, I think, 3 or 4 HubSpot UI changes, or something like that. Now we're on the current new HubSpot UI change. But before that, I'm sure there was a different, like, access methodology, seat methodology. But I mean, the thing, like, we were talking about, like, oh, hey, was the tool has gotten more complex. I mean, at user request, I would say it's gotten more capable. We've all wanted more features, but that comes with the complexity of like, how do we like, apply what value is to this stuff we're building? Like, I get that. And that's really difficult to quantify as a SaaS company, because like the thing can do XYZ, but are people going to be extracting that value from it? And what are the entry points for that value? And I don't know if like seats are a great way to ascribe value to me, right?
Listen, Listen, back in the day, I remember the beautiful thing was you just had users, and
Mhm.
users and permissions basically, and you could do things, you could see things, and this latest round of seats. Because by the
Mhm.
way, as if what I said earlier wasn't confusing enough, when you think about all the seats, you mentioned, Chad, view only seats, right?
Yeah.
But then we have core seats. We've got partner seats. We've got
Mhm.
service hub seats, sales hub seats. And so which seat do you need for the human to
Right.
do the thing? Because by the way, you can't just have a core seat and give them super admin access like you used to be able to, and they can see and do all things. There's
No.
literally things that they cannot see or do, even though they're a super
Yeah.
admin. Let me
Yeah.
just throw out
Can't.
sequences
Yeah.
for a
Edit
hot second.
playbooks.
Like, oh.
That
So
sucks
now
so
you have to
hard.
have so now you have to wait. My super admin needs to also have a paid seat to do
Right.
the
Or like you
thing.
have to bounce a seat around between people who need to edit all that. It's like, oh, who's got the seat right now? Does Billy have the seat? And then you're
Which
like
is
trying to
happening
find your
in
lost
portals.
seat.
This is
Yeah.
happening, ladies and gentlemen. Like I was literally talking to a client. This would have been last week, and they're like, "Oh, well, we realized Ellie isn't using that seat right now, so we're gonna give it to Bill, so Bill can do." Those aren't their real names, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm protecting the guilty of having to play this game. Anyway,
Yeah.
we love you, HubSpot. I'm not trying to go negative, but like, listen, Liz, the answer to your first question, and then add on this layer of like seats and which seat to have to know the thing that you need to do to have the hub that you have to have, and like, it's just complex. Chad, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's all good. I mean, I'm right there with you. You know, it's like the musical seats is kind of a whole thing, right? Um, I don't know. I mean, I guess all that to say, like this, the seats thing is there a better way, you know? But I'm sure they've been through a lot of ways of trying to like quantify value. Like I don't like, yeah, like I was saying, I didn't mind so bad if you want the force multipliers for that particular hub, you needed a
Right.
seat. That makes sense. I really am grateful that they added the partner seat as a partner, because like we used to have to tell our clients like, hey, can you get one of each seat and let us play the magical musical seat dance between our team members, you know? So I'm really grateful that they have that. Like it's not like I'm doing work in their portal outside of like editing the tools for their team to use, you know? So like grateful for that as a partner. But yeah, I don't know. I'll let you take it from here, George. I know you got a lot of things, and I have a couple other pages like that I'd like to talk about
Yeah.
later
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
it comes
So,
to the confusingness.
so, so here's the thing, Liz. I'll let you just know that I am armed with the pricing page at my fingertips, but I'll let you go with the next question and then we'll just go from there.
Well, actually, let's go right into it because we need to talk about what are the basics of HubSpot pricing.
Yeah.
And I think the pricing page, which in the show notes, I will include thorough screenshots of everything that we talk through in this episode so you can
Mhm.
get some context around what we're looking at. I would love for you to take us through that as a means to answering it, because theoretically, a company's pricing page
Yeah.
is what should give you the basics of pricing.
Mm. Yeah.
And George, that sound of heartburn makes me
Yeah.
wonder.
Tums to tums tums tums.
It makes me wonder if there's like a delta or some sort of distance between what are the actual basics of HubSpot pricing versus how they present the basics of HubSpot
Yeah,
pricing.
I mean, listen, usually when you go to a pricing page, it's like 3 boxes and a bonus fourth one if you need enterprise features, like contact us,
Give
right?
us a
Like
ring, yeah.
that's most pricing pages. So here's the thing, like, and I know I may not be the sharpest tool in the shed. I don't know. Maybe this is all me. Maybe it's not. But when I think about pricing, first of all, we're going to start with customer platform, because if you go to the pricing page, you go to the very top, customer platform, you would think, okay, that's a thing. No, actually, that's multiple things, because customer platform, you have customer platform for individuals and small teams, right? And so if you go there, you see that like the free tools. So this is free marketing tool, free sales tool, free service tool, free content tool, free operations tool, free commerce tools, all the free tools, the freeness that you can get with up to 2 users. Guess what? $0. Okay, makes sense. It was free. It's zero. I get it. Then you have the customer platform, starter customer platform, which is $15 a month / per seat. Okay. And on this pricing, when you get there, it doesn't really tell you on starter how many seats you get. Now, if we bounce over to professional customer platform, we can see that it includes 5 seats, but an additional seats start at $45 a month. But I don't see on starter actually how many seats come with starter. So now all of a sudden I'm confused. But of course, this is like Marketing Hub Starter includes 1,000 marketing contacts. Okay, I'm hit the brakes. This is the other thing that I wanted to talk about that changed a while ago before seats is like, do you remember the good old days? Well, maybe they weren't the good old days. I mean, they were good. Anyway, when you could just put, hang on, inside
There
of your HubSpot portal and not worry about if you're getting charged for them or not charged for them, because now you can have up to 1,000 marketing contacts. That's what your bill is on, but you can have up to 1 billion contacts in your CRM as long as they're non-marketing contacts. So that adds a layer of complexity, because now all of a sudden you've got to play the game of watching like how many humans are in my database and before next billing cycle, because now I need to make sure. And that shouldn't be the reason for data cleanliness. Your marketing contacts bill should not be the reason for your data hygiene preferences, right? Anyway, and by the way, here's the thing. With all the tools that you have on the sales side of it, like you can literally do marketing without actually using marketing tools, because you can use the sales tools to do the marketing. It's about messaging. It's about communication. Anyway, so
George, I
yeah,
have a question.
Yes.
Do you remember the last iteration of seats before this, where when they're like, hey, on Pro, you get 5 seats? Well, they say you get 5 seats here, but that's like 3 core seats, 1 sales, and one service. But before it was like, oh, you get 5 sales seats and 5 service seats, which I know not everybody needed. So I'm sure they were getting some level of objection, like, oh, can I sell those back? But it's like the same price as it was. You just get no seats.
Yeah. So yes. And by the way, I can barely remember what I had for lunch yesterday, let alone the pre-seats. But here's the thing. Right. Here's what gets me, right? So now on the professional customer platform, and remember, folks, we're still under the 4 individuals and small teams. We're not even to the business and enterprise piece yet. Now, 2 things. One, here, this, you get 2,000 marketing contacts. Beautiful. Okay. But listen to this for a second and tell me where your brain goes. Liz, I want to know where your brain goes. Chad, I want to know where your brain goes.
Where does it go?
Starter customer platform starts at $15. That's a bargain at twice the price. The next available option, $1,300.
Bit of a gap.
Yeah.
Okay. So put that in your back pocket and think about, I'm sitting here, I'm trying to make a decision, and I can do free, I can do $15 a month, or I can spend $1,300 a month. Now, immediately, what are you going to do? You're going to try to dig in deeper and see, like, what do all of those, what's the difference? And you can scroll down and you can start to easily see, like, the far right-hand side of, like, customer support form fields and contact management, and like, what do you get in Service Hub and what do you get in Content Hub? And so you can see all the things, and you get a lot of good things. But again, that's just for individuals and small teams. If I go over to businesses and enterprise, I've got 2 choices here, by the way. Okay. And I'm going to flip back and forth here in a hot second, but I've got the professional customer platform, $1,300 a month. Okay. So the top tier, if I'm an individual or small team, because I can't even see enterprise, by the way, on that tab, I can only see pro. But wait, you mean there's not a small team or an individual that might actually want to buy enterprise features? That's weird. But if I flip over to the business and enterprises, now I see professional customer platform for $1,300 or enterprise for $4,700. Now Now, I want you to think about this. $0, $15, $1,300, or $4,700. Is it just me? Or do those feel like some extremely large gaps?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's and that always freaks me out when I see that in any type of platform, because it's like, am I even getting anything at the lower end to begin with? And like, there's no like stepping up. It just gives me a lot of friction, because it's not like, well, what are they hiding? It's like, well, am I even getting anything of value? What am I actually even paying for to test things out?
Mhm.
I don't know. Chad, what do you think?
Well, I was like, you're sitting there talking about the for businesses, enterprises, and for individuals and small teams, and on the customer platform bundle, and I'm just sitting here thinking, like, what is he? I don't even see the, and I didn't even realize those were buttons at the top that I was on that
Oh,
I could switch between those
yeah.
two. Let alone free tools shows me the first part of that when you're on individuals and small teams.
Yes.
And then like you can, we had the old create a bundler. That's also something. Don't even
get me
that.
started on that, because as if, like, anyway.
Yeah, I think the hard part is like, I know the value of the pro tiers, right? And I know that the bundles are usually the best way to like, okay, you get everything and you're not going to be like running into any paywalls at that tier. Like, I understand that. Because like, here's another hard thing is, okay, well, if I want to go make my own bundadoo, and
Bundle.
bundle up,
Yep.
yeah,
I'm here for the bundadoos personally. That's
bundadoo. But yeah, I gotta bundle it up and I get like, sales pro, or maybe like marketing pro, but then I can't do like, multiple meeting links or something, right? Or like I can't do any data transformations in like the workflows because I don't have Ops Hub, because I don't know that Ops Hub is responsible for those things. And like, why would I pay $800 a month for Ops Hub when I'm building my own bundle when I have no clue what things it unblocks, right?
Yeah.
When I'm a customer who doesn't know what the tool is. So I mean, I know they were like, a lot of customers rely on partners to help them understand what they need, but man, it's like you really got to have some history in your brain to understand what they're going to need based on what they're going to try to do. And then they just have to trust you that you're telling them that they don't need more than they need.
The amount of education that it now takes to understand like, do you remember the good old days when you could watch like a HubSpot versus Salesforce versus like Zoho video on YouTube and go, oh, it's definitely HubSpot. Like the amount of education that it takes to now understand if this is a viable solution, other than if you just hear somebody tell you that that's what you should have. And you're like, okay, I trust that human. Let me go do it. Like if you're doing your due diligence, there's a lot of due diligence that needs to happen now. And here's what I find funny, because you brought it up, Chad. I wasn't even sure if I was going to jump into this create a bundle craziness. Is now I can select a bunch of different checkboxes. I can add the number of marketing contacts I need, not even really understanding what marketing contacts are or when or why I would use them, but I can put a number in there, and then I then I get the easy decision of, well, do I need 100 Breeze Intelligence credits? Do I need 1,000 Breeze Intelligence credits? Do I need 10,000 Breeze
all the
Intelligence
add-ons
credits?
are nuts.
Do I need API limit increase? Like, I don't know what that is. What is an API? What oh, anyway, like, I don't know. Do I? I don't know if I do. I digress. Again, HubSpot, we love you. Don't get me wrong.
Absolutely.
Like I've been using HubSpot since 2012. I've helped hundreds and thousands of people like use HubSpot better. But when we sit down to have this conversation around this page, around this conversation, like I feel like I need to take a double dose of my heart pills this morning.
Okay, so I'm going to be perfectly honest. We're definitely going to be going into a part 2 with this, because it's clear that we have a bit of a sprocket-shaped hornet's nest here when it comes to pricing. And I think we're going to need to have a more substantive part 2 conversation around examples of what that might look like, mistakes, best practices. But I would like to at least set the table for those more tactical parts of this discussion by asking, okay, so we're all sitting here with this pricing page that may create more questions than it actually answers. For those of us who have been with HubSpot for a really long time, it has gotten more complicated, not only just in what is offered, but just in the ways you need to think about it. Like the fact that we're constantly having to quantify the value of a seat now every time we have to think about our billing cycle or our contacts and whether or not they're marketing contacts or regular contacts and all these different things. So when we think high level, how should businesses actually begin to approach this decision? What are the key questions organizations should be asking themselves, maybe before they even get into that pricing page and start creating more confusion?
Chad, I'll let you go first. What are your thoughts on that?
I would say, like, what is your end goal here with your CRM? Like, what is your desired outcome? Because it'll help us like pick and choose the stuff that you need as somebody who is like either a partner or even the HubSpot sales team or whomever. Like, basically, you're going to just need to know what your organizational goals are for moving to HubSpot or getting onto HubSpot in the first place. Like, if you already have a CRM as well, that's a very important consideration. What CRM are you moving off of? And do you want to migrate data, or is your goal to like import some contacts and start fresh, right? That's a very, very key consideration. Depending on what you're on, it very well may make sense to just migrate in some humans into your contacts page, maybe some current sales opportunities, and just you don't trust the data in the old system anyway, so why bring it over and then make your HubSpot data you can't trust, right off the get-go, because you're like, oh, I can't report on this because you don't have the data points, or you weren't tracking them accurately, or people weren't using your old system. So very much, what's your desired outcome, and is data migration involved, and what's your data migration strategy if so?
Yeah, so
those are some key components.
Yeah, I think the two things that I hear you saying is, what the frick are we trying to solve?
Right.
And what the frick do we need to connect?
Yeah.
Like those two pieces, right? Here, I'm going to give you my bonus pro tip. Don't start with how much does it cost. Even though this entire conversation so far has been the pricing page and how much it's cost, don't start with that. Because here's what I'll say is HubSpot will grow with you. Like that. This is where I need to get into the positive side of, you can start smaller and HubSpot will grow with you. Now, as we've said earlier, the gaps that you have to jump to grow can be quite large if you're talking about jumping customer platform only. But you can jump from like sales starter to sales pro, and it's not all that crazy, right? Or you can, anything marketing is a little bit of a jump if I'm being completely honest and transparent. But some of the other hubs, you can make some jumps and it's not terrible. But here's the other things that I want to make sure we hit on, because Chad, you said basically, what are we trying to solve and what do we need to connect is some things you can think about. I would say this too, who's going to be using it? Because based on who's going to be using it and what functionality they need, now you know what hubs you need, but you also know what seats you need. And so again, depending if it's not because gone are the days where everybody who came into HubSpot were marketers. If you're buying HubSpot because you're going to build your website on it for a sales team and you need Content Hub and Sales Hub, by the way, is a real thing that I've seen people purchase. Like, then do you need marketing contacts? Maybe not. Like, depending on what processes. So here's the other thing that I'll say, right? Who's going to be using it and what does success look like with it? So if you think about those 4 things that we just mentioned, what are we trying to solve? Who's going to use it? What do we need to connect? And what does success look like? That helps you, or should help you, define. And here's the pieces of the puzzle that we need. Therefore, it gets us to the cost that we have to pay. That's where my brain goes.
Well, here's another thing to consider too, is like Starter by itself is a pretty powerful little cookie. What you don't get is automation. But if
Yep.
you want to get a little lost in the sauce, you could use a little bit of HubSpot like middleware action, right? For example, we really with like make.com, or also like even just getting like I don't know. So like make.com or Zapier both now even have access to custom objects, and they're getting more extensible. And if you really want to get nerdy with it, like I mean, things are so much more accessible to learn how to utilize the HubSpot API than ever before if you're a novice. With private app tokens being simple to generate and doing a little bit of, AI help me out whatnots, like you can actually start to make API calls. So even if Zapier or Make don't natively have the block that you need to like do the thing in HubSpot, because you can use HubSpot to HubSpot actions. Like that's the thing. You can just HubSpot's the trigger or a webhook is the trigger, and it goes back into HubSpot. So you can really extend that starter pretty far with simple automations through an automation platform, and learn how to use the HubSpot API for its gaps as well.
Well, and here's the thing that you just sparked in my brain too, because I don't know if everybody listening to this knows the fact that HubSpot seems to be going in a very interesting and different direction as well. If you and by the way, if you're listening to or watching this and you're not using HubSpot yet, let me know. I can share we'll share the screenshot so it's on the show notes. But by the way, if you have deeper conversations, let I or Chad know. We can help walk you through some of this complexity that we're talking about.
Yeah.
But Chad, if people are watching or listening to this and they are HubSpot users, I want them to go to product updates.
Oh yeah, baby.
Right hand side panel, and I want them to type this Zapier, Zapier, and then it's like the colon, semicolon, the 2 dot thing, quick account creation, because it's literally baked into HubSpot where you can like listen here. What is it? Getting teams onboarded to Zapier and leveraging best-in-class automation has never been easier with quick account creation. Users can get started with a new Zapier account and begin building, using, and exploring Zaps without ever leaving the HubSpot platform. Now, if that doesn't tell you somebody like, hey, you can get starter, and in your starter, you can create a quick Zapier account to do some things that bridge the gap that George was complaining about earlier from a price standpoint, to actually do some automated stuff, right? Anyway, I digress.
No, that's great, man. I mean, that's exactly the way you can, extend the ledge a little bit. Cause I mean, the price discrepancy, especially like, you're not using HubSpot yet, like, or you're just wanting to get your first starter account. Like, I mean, then you look at that price discrepancy. Wow, baby, that's a lot. I would say the people who are interested in a $25 starter are usually the people usually would be the people who already know how to use more advanced HubSpot hubs, and they're the people who like know the value that they will use later after their extended past starter, right?
So just so everybody knows, a little side tangent. Chad giggled and said, "George, if you're listening to this episode, I did share a screen because my brain just works in a funky way." Liz said it's kind of like a sprocket bee or hornet's nest.
Orange sprocket shaped hornet's nest.
Yes.
And then you made that beautiful thing come to life.
So I made that thing come to life in AI.
And then I couldn't get a screenshot.
No, I'm gonna send it. I'll send it to you. I'll send it to you for the show notes. I literally created a orange sprocket hornet's nest based. I couldn't let it go. Anyway, again, I digress. Let's continue on.
I love it. Well, guys, we've actually come to the end of the road of what is now actually just part 1.
Wow.
Because what we're going to be setting the table for is next week, we're going to be doing a deeper dive into what the actual differences are between free starter pro and enterprise. We're going to have a more substantive discussion around that, maybe get a little bit more hub specific. We're going to talk about some real world use cases, and we're going to talk about some of the most common mistakes we've seen where we touched upon like overbuying, underutilizing, things like that. But George, we've had a very detailed discussion to date already. So if you had one thing from this episode you wanted our listeners to walk away with, what would it be and why?
I would say this is a place where you have to take your time. And the word that is coming to mind right now is intentionality, right? This literally could be, and I am not a spreadsheet guy, but this might be the purpose and plan might be a spreadsheet. And let me explain what I mean by that, because we live in a world where you don't need to be just a mere mortal human. You can augment yourself. And so it would be very interesting for you to take a transcript of this show and maybe a transcript of the next episode and throw it into AI, right? And Liz is doing it right now. You can just tell that she's literally doing it right now.
Literally typing that, not even kidding.
Yeah. Take the transcript of like the next show, this show, go and get the HubSpot pricing page and throw it in AI. And what I'm saying is you might literally say, here are the humans we need. Here's the functionality we need. Here's the goal we're trying to achieve. Based on all of your knowledge, give me the best use case of what I need from a HubSpot portal. Now, I am not saying that you don't still do your due diligence, but at least giving you a good starting point to then know what due diligence you need to do. And also, if you showed up with that spreadsheet at a partner's doorstep, it's a better beginning than nothing. So I think that part of why we love to create content at this point is because we know people can reverse engineer it with whatever AI tool they're using, whether it be our clone or ChatGPT or Claude or whatever, to get places faster. And so that, but my big thing is intentionality and understanding the rubrics that we hopefully started to unlock in your brain today around this conversation.
Love that.
Love it.
Well, guys, I guess until next week.
Till next week.
Till next week. Okay, Hub Heroes, we've reached the end of another episode. Will Lord Lack continue to loom over the community, or will we be able to defeat him in the next episode of the Hub Heroes Podcast? Make sure you tune in and find out in the next episode. Make sure you head over to thehubheroes.com to get the latest episodes and become part of the League of Heroes. FYI, if you're part of the League of Heroes, you'll get the show notes right in your inbox, and they come with some hidden power-up potential as well. Make sure you share this podcast with a friend, leave a review if you like what you're listening to, and use the hashtag HubHeroes Podcast on any of the socials and let us know what strategy conversation you'd like to listen into next. Until next time, when we meet and combine our forces, remember to be a happy, helpful, humble human, and of course, always be looking for a way to be someone's hero.